Hey guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the Pals podcast. It's me and PJ on the mics again today, and we are at Marievale. Behind us, you can see the marsh owl hide, and in the distance, I don't know if you'll be able to see it on the camera, but there's some flamingos and some water birds walking around. So, for today's episode, we want to discuss how we go about IDing birds and counting them towards our list. Can be a little bit of a contentious issue because BirdLife SA and most of the birding organizations will allow you to record a bird to your list if you've only heard it. But PJ, for instance, will want to take a picture, so he wants to see it and then identify it before he can call an ID. I think, PJ, that's how you bird. So an interesting anecdote maybe, just to add, because we here at Marievale, is a few months back we were sitting in the Harira hide, and both Jay and myself heard a flufftail, which is a very rare bird. I think it's a red-chested flufftail call. So you could actually then count it towards your bird list, but having not seen it, we did not count it, so it's not even on the list as yet. But some people would have counted it. I think, PJ, maybe you can talk about maybe the dangers of just hearing something and recording it on your list.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think. Yeah, I think maybe danger is a very strong word about.
Well, it could be someone playing a sound, for instance.
Yeah, exactly. So I think so. We've always discussed it because there's times where you would be. We've gone to Zarkel's Drift, and we've heard a spotted crake.
Spotted crake, yeah.
Right. And at that point, I've never seen a spotted crake before.
Yeah.
And I would not count that towards my life list. Reason for that is because I would like to actually see the bird, right? I feel like birding is about actually seeing, enjoying the bird. Yes, the bird songs are also beautiful and all of those type of things. But I think as a first time ever seeing a bird, or if it's for your life list, I think definitely seeing the bird. I like to take photographs just to confirm, because again, like I said, I'm also more, I would say, a novel/intermediate birder, where I've only been birding for about 4 years now, going on 4 years, and I don't know the bird calls very, very well, so I generally rely on sight. But when it comes to bird songs and actually hearing it by sound, there's a lot of people that actually enjoy going out and birding and saying, and then just listening to the birds and stuff, and identifying it and adding it to their list and stuff like that. And I think that is really, really good. But I think there's also, like Pranay said, that there's some dangers to it. And probably it's because some people love playing the calls of birds, and potentially they're just trying to figure out if the bird is around, or they're trying to call the bird and then somebody just marks it off. Potentially because they heard a call, but it actually wasn't even the call of a particular bird. One of the other things around calls that we've also spoken about, I guess, is where I use the Merlin app, and potentially we'll talk about apps at some point.
Yeah.
But the Merlin app also does a thing where it has calls from different migratory birds, different locations. And what I've also learned with birding in different locations, sometimes the birds can potentially get confused by probably having a different call. Even if, I was recently on a trip and the guy was asking me hey, do you have the call for this particular bird? And I was like, I can look on the Merlin app, whatever. And then I just played it for him to listen. And he's like, oh, that doesn't sound like the bird that we have in our region.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's pretty interesting. So you can also have that type of birds might get confused about why it's been called. Maybe it only gets called in certain times of the year or something like that. But I guess when it comes down to IDing a bird, IDing on call, I guess we've had multiple discussions. Like, what is your thoughts on hiding
Well, I
first
mean,
time call?
so the one contentious discussion I think is the pals that I've heard twice now.
Yeah.
That I used to half count. I say half count because I've heard the pals calling across the river at Letaba, and you know the pals call, and you know that it is a pals. But like PJ says, I think it'll be good to see a bird before you can count it towards your list, and then say, yeah, this is the pals fishing owl. With some birds, you have to almost hear the call. I think as you get more advanced in your birding, some of the lark species, for instance, you'll have to see the bird and then you'll have to wait for it to call before you can differentiate between which species it is.
Yeah.
So even some of the cuckoos, where I think the African cuckoo and the common cuckoo are very similar in looks. But if you see one, it's very hard to tell which it is. If one calls, then you know that it's potentially then the African cuckoo, because the common cuckoo will not call in South Africa. So it's things like that that almost as you get more advanced, you may need to know the sounds better. When you're starting off birding, I think it's very good to actually identify birds by their features. But when you get into the more advanced birding, you do get, you have to differentiate by sound sometimes, especially with the larks and pipits and things like that.
Yeah, some cisticolas even.
Yeah,
like,
cisticolas as well. But then the flip side of the coin is, and PJ, for instance, didn't count his pit mayfro, red-chested cuckoo, until he saw it. But the red-chested cuckoo is a very distinct sound. So it goes pit mayfro. And he can be calling for ages and you won't see him, but you'll hear him. I hear one every night at home in the evening. So I think on stuff like that, where it's a very distinct call, I think it's good enough to call the bird, even if you've not seen it. Diedrich's pit mayfro, Klaas's cuckoo, all have very distinct calls. I was birding the other day in the Pilansberg, and the monotonous lark was calling, and it also has a very distinct call. So you can tell it apart from the other larks by its call. So yeah, I think it's two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
Like
I mean, it's everybody has their own opinion on how they kind of like create their life list. So these are just kind of like the way we kind of like think about it and stuff like that. I think we also, because we're a group of friends, we're always kind of like going at each other,
ribbing each other
about like how did you see that? Where did you see it? Nah, that doesn't count. And one of those type of things. Because like, yeah, exactly with the cuckoos, like I have one now at my house and I see him all the time, but he's been there and he's been calling and I didn't see it up until I went to Waltz Sisulu like 2 months ago. For 3 years, I've been looking for this cuckoo, never seen it. I know so many other people that are on the same, but I know the call and I just didn't count it towards my life, because I just wanted to see the bird. Finally saw it. Now I see it like every second day for some reason. There's always that whole story about like, once you see a bird, potentially like they come and look for you afterwards. But I mean, now on call, like when we did the big birding day, there's literally like, we didn't see a red-chested cuckoo, but we heard one, and we counted it to the list because we've all seen it. That was part of the team, and we all know the call really, really well, and we'll count it towards the list at that point, because it's also very like a common sound. Whereas there was one bird, bar-in wobbler, that Nesh heard, and he's seen it before, and we saw a bird flittering and whatever, and he's calling, and he's like, it's over there, like calling, like that's the bird over there. And me and Pranesh are trying to like see this bird and stuff like that, locate it and stuff like that. And and we didn't see it, and we just didn't count it towards the list, even
Yeah.
though he wanted us to count it.
Yeah.
We got back into the car. He played the call. We literally said, "Yep, it's definitely a match." But again, we didn't add it to the list because it would have been a lifer for both of us.
Yeah, for both of us, yeah.
So at that particular point, like that was also now another scenario where we were like, "Oh, cool. Yes, we've matched the call." Of listening to it on the phone after hearing and seeing some kind of like flittering, but like we just didn't count it even towards our big birding list, just because there was 3 of us and you have to at least have 2 people confirming. And yes, we confirmed the call, but like again, we both didn't see it, so it's just kind of like one of those things. So I think it's all personal for everybody. Again, I think like birding as a hobby, it can get very like contentious and people get very serious about it. I think we're trying to just like talk about some of these topics because I think as a group of people, like as a group of friends that are birding together, yeah, we kind of like we rip each other apart for stuff, but like,
we're tough on each other.
Yeah, we're tough on each other, but like the thing is like I think it's just like just healthy, friendly competition amongst us. But like with other people, I mean, yeah, like whatever they want to do, I guess it's what they want to do.
Yeah. I think just on the life lists and stuff as well. A lot of the apps and like PJ said, we will talk about the apps, but a lot of the apps allow you now to say herd only. So you can count it to your list as your herd only list. So then you'll have birds that you've seen, the birds that you've heard. And then I know, for instance, Trevor and his group also have a birds that they photographed. So they've got a 400 club of birds photographed. So it's like PJ says, very personal and up to you on how you add to your life list and how you count your birds.
Yeah. I think that pretty much concludes it. Let us know in the comments what you guys think and like how you guys are counting your life list. If there's anything, like if you guys do it by sound, if you do it by only taking photos, I think that would be, it would be great to kind of like see how other people are doing it, and if you guys have like a group of people that are also doing it. But yeah.
Okay, great. We'll catch you on the next episode now.
Peace.